The ownership of West Ham is a talking point that's doing the rounds at the moment. It's basically following what ex-WHU employee had reported originally, which was that a US investor had instructed solicitors, etc., to start the proceedings of approaching West Ham to buy the Gold family shares, 25.1%, as we understand it. Now, I'm joined, as you can see, by Gonzo from Hammers Chat, Hammers Chat Forum. I'll put the link in the description below. Very good channel. First of all, Gonzo, how are you, mate? Are you well? Keeping well?
I am well, but there is a mosquito in my cave. So if I start, it's not a nervous
euphemism, is it?
It's not a nervous twitch. It's not a euphemism or a nervous twitch. If you see me doing that, I'm not saying end the video. I'm trying to get the little what's it before he starts feasting on me.
Fair enough. All right, we'll be warned then. Watch out for mosquito watch. We're on mosquito watch for this one.
Yeah.
The reason, obviously, well, not the reason we want to talk to you always, Gonzo, but what I wanted to chat to you about is a recent article that's just gone on to Claren Hugh regarding the ownership situation, which has put, I suppose, a little bit more meat on the bones, maybe, of where things are going a little bit, because obviously now there's this speculation of US interest at West Ham. I suppose I'll put it over to you, Gonzo. What's the latest? What are you understanding at the moment to be the case of what's happening with these shares?
Okay, okay. So the shares themselves are a little. Well, it's not complicated anymore. The shares themselves are really, it's really quite a simple situation. So firstly, if we backtrack, this is not new news. This is not. What I'm about to talk about with Tripp Smith is there's nothing new about this at all. The only reason that this is really coming to light now is the release of the Gold family shares through probate. Now that was always going to happen. It's delayed. What was really, I think, always going to be the inevitable. What the real switch in it is, not only are they the family, which is basically will be Dan Cunningham and Vanessa Gold would really be in charge of the shares. They were originally going to sell 12.5 shares, 12.5% of the club, which would be half of their 25% shareholding. Now, that's quite a big switch, because originally it was, well, you know, this was Dad's club. He loved West Ham, but obviously Jacqueline then died as well. So it was a case of, you know, can we release some funds to basically to recoup something. Now that's all we knew, but it was 25%. The real news is they're now ready to sell. They switched from 12.5% to 25%. Right. That's big news, because they're not going to retain any shareholding in West Ham, and I think that has been completely missed. That's quite a big jump. Now, the reason it would seem that is the case is because Ann Summers are in a bit of financial trouble, actually. So they posted on their last financial figures a loss of 13 million. Not only that, they had to, as almost like a relief fund, the Gold family had to put another 5 million into Ann Summers as a cash injection. They've laid off a lot of staff. It's a struggling business. So whilst we always, as West Ham fans, think, well, you know, West Ham might be the most important thing or whatever, not necessarily for the Gold family, because whilst for sure West Ham was a big part of David Gold's life, it did build up that brand, and I think it's probably more synonymous with the Gold family than West Ham is, and particularly what's happened with Jacqueline. So I don't know if they're trying to protect that. Also, if you look at when it was announced what the Gold estate was, we were always told that David Gold was worth about £500 million, right? If you look at the estate, it doesn't say anything like that. So the family home is now up for sale as well, where he had the mini golf course, the helicopter, and all the stuff. It's a lot of it is up for sale. And when you look,
I've got a couple of them. A couple of them in the garden.
What, golf courses or chopper? You got a chopper?
Yeah, it's outside. I'm gonna go pick the kids up in a bit, so I'll.
I might take that. Of course you are. I think if we, you know, just condense it down, look, I would like to be as skint as the Gold family. Let's put it that way, right? But everything is relative. I think they're having some financial trouble, so I think selling all of their shares in West Ham would probably help them. So that probably lays the foundation for everything that's going to come up. The last few days, this is not particularly new news. You were absolutely right. Ex-West Ham United employee gave an update. I believe it was on the Patreon, and he said that there were 2 potential West Ham investors and they had instructed their lawyers to just basically begin proceedings about trying to buy up those shares. Now, I think first of all, it sounds like an odd thing to do. Why would you not go straight to the Gold family or anything like that? And I think because of that, X got a bit of stick. But I think his information was good. I'm not just saying that because my head's stuck next to a West Ham Way sign, right? I did a video on it following it up the next day, and I said that. And I think, unfortunately, just there's so much cynicism around West Ham at the moment. I certainly did my video and got accused. This is a load of nonsense. Even though it wasn't my story, it was X's story. It's a load of nonsense. You're just peddling BS, not DS. You're just peddling BS. Funny enough, on behalf of DS, so as you can sell season tickets. And to be fair, for that reason, I left the story. So I think people, look, mate, you know me. I live in social housing and shop at Aldi. I wish I had a billionaire paying me to make bloody videos. Blimey, right? So let's just get that absolutely right on that one.
But like we've said before as well, Gonzo, I don't think there's many people that buy season tickets on the basis of a rumour of someone buying shares. So, I mean, I'd be quite troubled if that's how I made my decision on buying a season ticket.
Wouldn't you? But yeah, absolutely.
Who's buying the shares?
To bring Lionel Messi in, yes. But people do. When someone's holding up the shirt, possibly when you saw Guilherme holding up the shirt, you might have bought your season ticket then. You might have thought, do you know what? West Ham has shown ambition. But I also don't agree. I think it's a little bit insulting to suggest that people do as well. But I just thought, I can't be bothered. I can't. So I've had an update, so I thought, I can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered. I can't be bothered with the online abuse, quite frankly. So the information has been there. But what it's done is it's allowed a little bit of breathing space to get a little bit more information on it. And it would appear that there is a little bit more meat on the bone from it now. I think the other thing is to say you would be foolish to buy a season ticket off the back of this information anyway, because this isn't going to make West Ham have a good season in the upcoming season. That's not what this is about. And if things are basically playing out in the way that it looks like they're playing out, David Sullivan is still going to be in charge for the foreseeable, the short term at least. So yeah, this is not a ploy. If you're not going to buy a season ticket, continue not to buy. Stick to your guns. Ultimately, I don't. Whether anybody does or doesn't is really their own business. So yeah, that's really. So I've sort of sat on the information for 2 or 3 days, but it's allowed me to gather some more info, which it could be true, it couldn't, but it's seems like pretty good information to me.
Yeah, I mean, Tripp Smith's an interesting one here because there's always been this talk that he would have an ambition to have more of a say at West Ham at some point. It's always like he's been pretty quiet, hasn't he, for quite some time. I also understand that he's actually quite close with a few people at the club, Mark Noble, as far as I understand. I think I've been told as well that there's a good relationship between them, which I think is interesting. There's also the fact now that I think I'd read on Claret & Hugh, Gonzo, that in terms of David Sullivan and possibly, is there a reluctance? Are we sure that Sullivan now is in a position where he won't be buying more shares, and possibly is the appetite, do you feel, starting to dwindle a little bit maybe on Sullivan's side in terms of wanting more power? Well, let's be honest, he's already got enough power as it is, so it's not like he needs more shares. But do you get the impression that possibly times are changing on the horizon, or is that a little bit too soon to be saying, do you think?
Look, as much as I can, bearing in mind I am just a bloke sat in his shed talking to you, Sullivan will not buy gold shares.
Okay.
And by the way, he has the best opportunity out of anybody to do so because of their relationship. He will not buy the gold shares. So that's that. In terms of him losing, it's really, really hard to say. His desire for power, as you say, I don't think he needs any more. He has a controlling interest, and I think that's the point. He makes the decisions. He really, really does. There is anything above and beyond that. Any decision that's going to cost West Ham above and beyond £1 million has to be discussed at board level. Aside from that, people don't really get consulted, and I would factor Kretinsky in on that. It's important to remember Kretinsky is not just a Royal Mail takeover, very very well briefed about what happens on our own shores. He's one of his energy companies is I think we're looking at close to a £3 billion loss. Now he's all right. Again, I'd like to be skint as Daniel Kretinsky with 13 billion, but I'm not sure how involved he can't particularly take a controlling stake anyway because of his, well, actually technically he could, we're not in Europe, but anytime if we had ambitions against Europe, his stake in Sparta Prague is a bit of an issue. In terms of, I would say at the moment Sullivan is probably as motivated as ever at West Ham in terms of, he likes involvement. He likes being involved. He likes getting involved in the buying and selling of players. That this is the case with him. That dipped. He pretty much didn't do that for almost the best part of 12 months, really. So even way back in January, West Ham had appointed a third party to make, and who made two bids, one for Angel Gomez and one for John Duran. And also we had Karen Brady trying to deal with negotiations, which was why you had the botched Banzuzi bid. So you can make up your own mind why Sullivan wasn't involved, but clearly he had taken a step back. That appears to be not the case now. And I'm not saying he's now got his full spring in his step, so to speak. But from what I can gather, I think he's quite looking forward to the transfer window. I think he's quite confident that, I mean, well, as you know, Mark, I am not confident. I'm really, we speak privately on the phone. I'm very worried about our competency in this transfer window. Certainly, that is not, it's not anything that breeds any confidence for me. I think we could really struggle, but I think he's very confident. I think Sullivan's very confident. I think Sullivan's very confident. Potter's very confident. I think McCauley is very confident. So that's that. So Sullivan is. Don't read too much. Don't read too much into it. What it appears to be is though the club are going to need to go forward, and the club need to be driven forward. But we are behind the times in so much of everything. And the Tripp Smith one is really interesting. You've got Tripp Smith has been involved in finance, and a lot of capital ventures in distressed assets. I'm not sure you'd necessarily call this West Ham a distressed asset just yet while we're in the Premier League. Everything is hunky-dory. And I don't forget, much we don't like these PSR rules and stuff like that. They are really, I don't think they were put in place to make clubs solvent. I think they were there to maintain the status quo. I think what they do as a byproduct is keep clubs solvent. So I wouldn't say West Ham are necessarily a distressed asset, but the stadium is still playing a key role in all of this. And I think there still remains an ultimate ambition for whoever does eventually own the club to also own the stadium. So this is quite big, and it's quite important. Now, the thing is, even if you just forget all this stuff, why would Albert Tripp Smith buy a stake in West Ham? Now, you've got to remember, the first thing he did was give us an interest-free £10 million loan. That's the first thing he did when he joined. It was quite... And he then went on and diluted his shareholding. So it would appear that this is not somebody who was that interested in immediate returns. So what's he doing? Well, he's planning for the long term. So if nothing else, you have a broker, someone who has a history of brokering big deals, taking a stake in West Ham, and he still retains all the contacts he's always had, which are some pretty big contacts, some pretty big heavy hitters, and as I understand it, he is in talks with. Well, it's not in talks. He doesn't need to hold talks with these people. He knows these people. This is what he does. Tripp Smith knows people that you've heard of, rich American people that are common names that you know of because they own big companies, they own big things. So he is and what he has always done, he is trying to put together a group to take David Gold's shares. What you then extrapolate from that, what I extrapolate from that, you can extrapolate what you want, but what I extrapolate from that, they're not going to do that just to get 25% of West Ham.
Well, this is it. Yeah. I think that's got to be the case, isn't it? They've got to be an ambition for more. It's got to be.
Yes, and I keep hearing it's tied to the stadium.
Okay.
There's even some suggestion that maybe the New Balance deal for the kit has some bearing in what's about to play out.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of the stadium, or in terms of the consortium stuff?
Yeah, but
Or is it all?
It's tough. I wouldn't be. Well, I'll put it this way. I've been informed. But don't be surprised if the stadium gets a sponsor that's very, very closely linked to West Ham. Now that in itself, if we stay away from Amazon and we stay away from New Balance for a while, if you found that Mrs. Miggins' Pie Shop was sponsoring the West Ham shirt and it was sponsoring the stadium, you would know something was afoot. Because one thing we do know is that the stadium and West Ham don't get along. The LLDC and any arm's length management organisation which is running that stadium, they do not get along. So you'd straight away think, well, hold on a second. There's a common denominator there. There's clearly a commonality in whoever's brokering this stuff. I think there's a bigger sign to come on the way without me overly saying too much and putting myself in a position where I don't get told anything again. So yeah, it seems like there's some very interesting irons in the fire.
It does. It's an interesting time. I mean, we've got a lot of things going on at this football club. Certainly a lot off the pitch. It's going to be a very busy summer. I know that you've got your concerns, Gonzo. Before we sort of wrap things up, though, and thank you for your insight on this, by the way.
I might be wrong, by the way. I might be wrong.
No.
But this is information I have been getting asked. The thing is with this stuff, Mark, you know it yourself. You do this stuff and you speak about this stuff, and then people want to offer you up information, and they because you sometimes get things wrong, so people go, sorry, I've got a little inside track on this is actually happening, this is happening. It's nothing more so than that, but yeah, I certainly don't think I'm someone's feeding me a load of BS on this. I certainly don't think that's the case, but sorry to interrupt, mate.
No, not at all. No, not at all, mate. I know. I really appreciate you sharing what you feel at the moment and what you understand it to be, and obviously what you've heard.
Anything for you, my fellow bespectacled friends.
There you go. Before we wrap up, though, mate, how are you feeling about? Obviously, I know you've got anxieties over the summer, which I understand. How are you feeling towards the end of the season now? A couple of games to go. We've got and winnable games. I mean, Nottingham Forest not in great form. Coming up this weekend. Obviously, then Ipswich wrapping the season up. That Manchester United result does feel like it's breathed a little bit of confidence into the fan base and the team, no doubt. How are you feeling going into the end of the season? Are you feeling a little bit more optimistic? Maybe we will finish things on a high.
It's nice to win. Not like everyone, but like a lot of people, get really miserable when we lose, and I'm really chuffed when we win, So I feel a lot better after the Man U game, definitely. And it's like that. It happens after a win. So now I'm thinking, maybe we can win that Nottingham Forest one. I didn't feel like that. Yeah. I didn't feel like that before. And certain people say, "Well, you flip flop." Yeah, I literally game to game. Literally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the thing is with when you don't win for 8 games, you don't even have flipping from game to game. You just incrementally get less positive about what's going to happen. So that helped. But I do think Man United were crap. I don't think but I did think they were a little bit better than Tottenham, fun enough. So because I didn't think Tottenham turned it on at all. We basically gave Tottenham a goal. I do think Man United turned it on for 25 minutes and had a pop. But I think I liked. Well, how could you not like the first goal we scored? It was, and it's been nice to see it replayed and all the passes and all the rest of it. I was pleased. I was pleased at the end. I liked to see it. If that's what Potter wants to do and play in that way, then that really is going to be his best form of defence, isn't it? I don't like what he does in terms of chucking on defenders all the time. Like, well, hold on, if what you want to do is do the possession thing, then that's cool. If you want to just, why not at the end? If you manage to get yourself a 2-goal lead, keep the ball, do that. Let all the fans shout "Ole" every time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pass the ball. So I thought that was quite nice. I was pleased to see that. I am not. The more I see. Look, I'm not gonna. I don't suddenly think Graham Potter's morphed into Pep Guardiola. I still think he's got his limitations, and I think we will always be frustrated with this coach in substitutions. That will always happen. I can't see any. I think we'll always get to that. Where we may find we get near the end of the games. Oh, he's taking off a striker from midfielder. Oh, he's taking off a midfielder for a defender. That's what's going to happen. But that's okay. What he is I don't think he's a complete imbecile, and
What a compliment that is.
Thank you. He's not. No, he's an intelligent. He's an intelligent man. I mean, tactically.
Yeah.
So I do think he seems to. He does have. He has a cerebral way of looking at it. So I do think we'll see different tactics, different formations. I think he's got his way of playing, but I don't think it's as stubborn as Moisey. And I don't think. I've got to say, Lopetegui at times would just look borderline incompetent. And I understand Lopetegui gained more points per game than Potter did. But I am coming around to the feeling, actually, if Potter gets get all his players a tough one. If Potter gets players that can play his style, I think we'll be all right next season. Which I can't bring myself to say we'll thrive and we'll do well. But therein lies the problem. And as I said on a few of my videos, Mark, that I'll chill out. I'll chill out when we've made 2 or 3 signings. Think, okay. And I know X has said we're going to look at the Danish market and the Dutch market, and there was one other as well. But it was that type of thing, Scandinavia market.
Yeah.
That makes me more positive than the other stuff. I don't like it when we get, we're putting an unrealistic bid for Samu Omorodian at Porto, who's clearly going to go and play for a massive club. Well, that's just ridiculous. We're not going to do that. And I know some people say you've got to be ambitious, and I agree. I don't even believe it half the time. I believe we've done it actually, but I don't believe for a moment we're going to get the players. And I almost still feel like some of those bids are like a virtue signal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also as well with those bids, I want players that want to be here, Gonzo. Do you know what I mean? I really want players that want to be at West Ham. I don't want them just to come here and think, I'm coming here for a decent payday. Really, this is going to be a great earn. I'm in the Premier League, but you know what? Once I'm established, I'm out of here as quickly as I can. I kind of want to move away from that a little bit. I've got to be honest. I'd rather have players
as much as you can. Obviously, you do want ambition as well, but you want them to be here in the first place. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But I think when I hear us linked with a Belgium, that was the other one. When I hear us linked with a Bruges midfielder or someone that's an up and comer in the Eredivisie or whatever the case may be, a Danish left back who's coming through, I think, oh, okay. So they might not have been X's most recent reports, might not have been the most Hollywood, but I've sort of liked them and I've appreciated them.
Yeah,
that's more believable. Actually, I don't, that's cool. And if I don't know who he is, not X, well, obviously nobody knows who X is. He's an international man of mystery. If I don't know who the player that we're linked with is, I think that's good as well, because I think for so long, it felt like West Ham are playing like Football Manager stuff. We'll take players that don't require any scouting. Well, I like the idea of that Danish left back who I've never heard of before, and you look and think, oh, actually, he is up and coming. He is promising. Oh, look, he was outstanding for the Danish under-21s. He's got 2 caps for the first team as the main team as substitute, and think, okay, if we can do that, then I will feel a lot better about it. If I see 2, and I'll think, okay, well, actually, we can. Actually, their lack of experience in signing players, they seem to be learning on the job quite quickly. As I do still think it's a risky strategy. It's not. It's not like any job that a lot of us might have had in the past where you go in and start work in the office or the shop and you get to learn on the job. That's not what's going. This is, because generally you'll start on a very, very low down job that doesn't, if you muck up, it doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, it doesn't matter. You can't create too much damage. I think if you're going to learn on the job, a really important one that is worth multi-millions, I think that's makes me nervous.
I agree. There's an anxiety there, isn't there? You think because we can't get it. We can't get it wrong. Do you know what I mean? We've already proven this season that we're not in a strong position. We have got to get the summer right. So yeah, I agree. I'm totally in alignment with you. That's how I feel. I get more excited at the moment hearing about players I haven't really heard of, younger players, and I think this is a bit more like it. I don't want to see us attached to players that are kind of the obvious, and okay, like. And we're paying over the odds. So I'm encouraged by who we're linked with. but like you, I need to see it happen now. Rather, the links are great and being interested is brilliant, but let's go and get a couple of deals done then, and I think it'll settle the nerves down. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm sure it's going to be quite an interesting summer at least.
And it will be that. It will be that. It will be an interesting summer. I'm quite sure.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate you coming on.
Cheers for having me on, mate. Any time. And well, I say any time. A lot of the time, you message and say, "Can you come on?" And say, "Oh, mate, I'm doing this, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that." And any time I can, mate, I'm always happy to. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, mate. Thanks again. And yeah, look, we'll catch up with you soon, matey. And yeah, and I'm sure we'll have another video in store soon. Actually, we're coming over to your channel, aren't I, next week? I think to do something.
You are. You're going to come and help me out with a video, aren't you? Which is.
I'll be over there. I'll be over there. Return the favour. Yeah, no problem at all.
Thanks,
take care, mate. Have a good one. Cheers, mate. Have a good one. Bye, mate.